Here are 5 tips that will help you improve your art as a 3D artist. These tips have helped me grow my art, and I think you'll also find it helpful as well. First, presentation. You just finish a prop, vehicle, or environment, or any art piece, and you just fix your camera head on and render it. Do you feel satisfied with just that render? I don't think so. A good presentation would be the difference between your art being ignored or getting attention. Now, to present your art piece, you need to showcase clear renders, wireframes, your textures, some close-up, and what art without good lighting? I know lighting is every 3D artist's nightmare, except those who have mastered it. Well, you can go on Skillshare since that's all the craze now to learn a skill and take photography classes on lighting, or on YouTube with countless tutorials to help you master the power of lighting, as good lighting will give your renders more contrast and some realism. You can also use HDRIs to light your models. You should also render different angles of your art and add a turntable to showcase your model. If you go through art pieces on ArtStation, you see artists do this a lot. Also, pick a good color for your background when rendering to make it pop. You can use the color wheel to show you complementary colors. For the next tip, we have compositing. You should do some compositing for your renders after you're done. This is the same as post-production where you edit your renders, like adding some less distortion, some quick color correction, and increasing the shadows and adding some vignettes to your renders. Also, the rules of thirds or the Fibonacci ratio for environmental artists to arrange your scenes or model to give balance to your renders. Using depth of field, leading lines will draw your viewer's attention where you want it. All this will either increase the realism of your render or spark an emotion within your viewer, which in my opinion is the strongest way to see. Now, looking at this image from Need for Speed Heat, it does justice to what we just mentioned. The depth of field makes your eyes glued to the car, the compositing with the lines, and you can trace it, and the motion blur which represents speed, and also with the colors too, perfect in every way. Another tip to improve your art drastically is by adding imperfections. I've seen a lot of renders that have surfaces as smooth as a baby's butt. Yes, I'm guilty too. Things like scratches, rust and dust, some fade on the colors, fingerprints and all that should be on your model where needed. You can see here on the muzzle of this stylized gun that I created that now it doesn't look real or something that will fit in the real world. But now that I add the scratches and edge wear to it, it makes a lot of difference. You can pause the video to replicate the node tree if you want. Life in itself is imperfect, so add those imperfections to your models. Try to keep the imperfections under control, as adding a lot will make your render very busy. We just talked about how adding imperfections to your models make it look real, but now we need references. You want to create an environment, use reference to see how everything lines up. You want to sculpt, use reference. You want to model a weapon, use reference, as this will help you master realism. Some might say using reference is cheating, blah 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 blah, but in my opinion, it's not. I don't know why some artists take pride in not using a reference. Like, make me understand it. Not like everyone has a photographic memory like Dr. Strange.
Where did you learn the litany of spells required to even understand it?
I've got a photographic memory. That's how I got my MD and PhD at the same time.
If you don't use references, poses of your character will be messed up and painful. Proportions will be so out of place. And you know what your art will look like if you don't use reference? It will look like garbage, literal garbage. Also, take your time to understand your reference. Look at the materials used in the reference, the creases, and all the things you notice, and try to replicate them. Using too much reference can be bad, as it will take your focus off from your art and looking for details. Just pick some right few images to focus your art on. Use Pure to gather your references all in one place. For the next and last tip, I would say plan ahead or having a workflow. Having a workflow that you follow is very important. You have to plan how you will take the default cube to whatever you want to create, from finding a good reference on what you want to create, to the blockout passes, to the entire modeling process and how many vertices you want, to the texturing, and if the piece is being created for films or games, which have different workflows. Having a workflow will save you a lot of time and give you the most creative freedom when creating art. So finding a good workflow for your art that you want to create is going to be essential in your journey. Use this tip in your current or next art piece and you will notice the changes. Talking about tips, check out this video on tips and tricks you might not know in Blender.